And I think that we're live now. So here we go. And we're doing start outs today. Greetings, universe. We are late. It's been a little while. I think some of us were sick. Some of us are still sick. Seidel is still sick. So if you are listening, send all the good thoughts and the good vibes and the nice juju to Seidel
Get well
to get
soon,
better.
Seidel.
We love you, Seidel.
We miss her. What is that noise? Oh my god. Oh my god. What's happening to my computer? Stop. Okay. So let's jump right into Stardaughter because I think we've been waiting for this for quite some time. Yeah, we've been waiting. We put this off. This book came. I read this book before, and so I tried to put when we did our book list. I had tried to put only books that we
didn't read.
Only books that I hadn't read on the list, right? And our friend Julie, they read this, and Julie loved it. And then they told Talia, and Talia was like, "Well, I'm putting this on the list. We have to do this soon." And now we're here. So that's how it got on the list, so randomly, so quickly. For those who have seen our book list before. So let me read the blurb real quick. And then technically, Talia, I think this is your pick, isn't it?
Yeah. You want me to read it? I have it up.
I can read the blurb and then you can jump in with your first thoughts and then we'll do our little circle. Right. So, all right. Stardaughter by Shveta Thakrar. At least I really hope I pronounced the name correctly. The daughter of a star and a mortal, Sheetal is used to keeping secrets, pretending to be normal. But when an accidental flare of her starfire puts her human father in the hospital, Sheetal needs a full star's help to heal him. A star like her mother, who returned to the sky long ago. Sheetal's quest to save her father will take her to a celestial court of shining wonders and dark shadows, where she must take the stage as her family's champion in a competition to decide the next ruling house of the heavens, and win or risk never returning to Earth at all. Ooh. All right. So, Talia, you first. What's up?
I read this book and I'm like, this is very, it's very like Disney, kind of, I must win the competition to do this thing for my family and for my honor. It was very that, and I loved it. Right? It wasn't like the deepest of motivations and so on. It wasn't like, but it was just beautiful, light, emotionally light read. And I was reading some of the criticisms of the book, some of which I agreed with, but I think they expected, a lot of people that expected more. It's like, oh well, this is Indian stuff, let's get into it, and it's going to be so deep because it's so foreign and exotic, and it was just a beautiful light
capacity,
read for me.
BL says it's very YA. It's a YA book, so I would expect so. Yeah. I do know that what attracted our friend Julie was that they saw the cover, and the cover is gorgeous. The cover is just absolutely beautiful. Major kudos to whoever that artist is, because it's beautiful. Yeah, very YA. Who wants to go next? Thoughts, impressions, feelings, vibes?
I'll go next.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was going through Audible a couple months ago and I saw the cover and I remember I sent it to you, Kira, and I was like, Kira, have you heard of this book? And you're like, yeah, I read it. So the cover is very attractive. I love it. I also agree with, this way, with Talia, that it was very easy breezy, light reading, a happy ending, coming of age, somebody learned a lesson. Was it overly complicated? No, but did it need to be? No, I don't think so. It was fun. Like when I finished it, I was just like, well, that was pleasant. You know, it didn't really rip me apart like other books we've read where we finish and we're just like, it was just like, that was a pleasant ride. It kind of reminded me of like American Idol meets Labyrinth or something to that effect. So like the ball scene with the Nagas and all the creatures, I very much thought of like Labyrinth with that, in the night market. I thought was particularly interesting. Yeah. So in general, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lovely coming of age, and it was fun. Was it deep? Was it fun? Yes.
BL suggests easy breezy beautiful star girl. I think that's pretty accurate, actually. Shayna, let's go.
All right. Okay. I agree with you ladies. I think it was a sweet story for sure. Like I got the Audible book, and I think about halfway through it, I just started getting really annoyed with a lot of repetitive phrases. You know, like I heard like it, man. I at one point I was like, if I hear the word sidereal one more time, I'm gonna like flip shit. And I heard it like 20 times after that, but I kept reading it. Like it's like someone opened up a thesaurus for anything associated with the word star, and then like picked like the top 5 and then just kept using those words over and over again. So diction wise, I was pretty annoyed with this book. Plot wise though, I thought it was very sweet. It was, you know, definitely very YA, you know, very light and, you know, very kind of at the surface type story. But yeah, I think what annoyed me the most was the use of the same like phrases in reference to the stars. That's the thing that really kind of stuck out and to me the most.
Hey, look, Julie Reach. They are the reason we pushed to make sure this book was on here, because they read it recently and we were like, well, yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Shay.
You're fine. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
So then let me jump in on my Julie agrees. I am not sure which thing they agree with, but I'm sure that they agree with quite a lot of it. Yes. I kind of had that feeling as well. I think that there were quite a few phrases that were repetitive, but I also appreciate that at least it wasn't the word star or the word celestial that was being consistently repeated, because that is also kind of like...
I think sidereal's a pretty word.
It is a pretty word, and I wonder if maybe that's why.
I mean, I agree. It's a pretty word, but like, I don't know.
Make it sound like a real like book or something. I mean, I don't know. I really like the cover, and I know you really like the cover, Julie, because this cover was best. This cover was real best, and I'm certain that. Julie says I rated the book lower because I hated the dialogue. I do feel like. Okay, let me start from the top with my thoughts and my feelings and my vibes. I think the first book that I ever read that was fantasy, using Hindu mythology in a way that I've seen and enjoyed, is it non-European? No, it is European. Screw it. No, it's not European. That's Mediterranean. What am I thinking? Whatever. Like, you know, we all know about the Greeks and the Romans and the Norse, right? These are our standard white pantheons, okay? That's how we vibe it. That's how they're used, right? Though, I mean, whether or not the Greeks are white is that's a whole different conversation. But anyway, they are represented as white in all of the media that we consume. So you know what? They're the white pantheons, okay? Let's just do that. But this is one of the first books that I've read that just was like, nah, I'm not about that life. I did read the Arusha books, which was basically the Hindu mythology version of the Percy Jackson et al. Books by Rick Riordan. It's actually a Rick Riordan Presents book. And right after that, I got recommended Star Daughter. And the cover, again, was just so gorgeous. I had to pick it up. Yeah, exactly. Like Julie saying the Greeks ain't white. Yeah, I know that. That's why I mentioned it. But when we see Greek gods and goddesses in the media, when they're portrayed in movies and TV, it's usually white people, bruh. Yeah.
That's called Hollywood whitewashing care.
Yes. But I mean, but it's at the point now where this is the foundation, right? Like this is the Greek and the Roman pantheons are the ones that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And we all know them through their deeply whitewashed versions of themselves in the media, right? Julie also said that the writing style and dialogue was a big no for her, for them. Sorry. So yeah, but this was the point though, is that I am so familiar with what we get all the time, which is like we get a lot of Irish folk tales and mythology, we get a lot of Norse, and we get Greek and Roman, right? And this was the first time that I had ever read something outside of the Rick Riordan Presents one for with Arusha. I think that's Roshani Choshi. There's a K there. Roshani Choshi. I'm mixing up where the K goes, but that's all right. You'll know it well enough. Julie, yeah, this is what I'm getting at. Okay, Julie says why fantasy mythology is so whitewashed and saturated with whites that Star Daughter was really a pleasure. And honestly, that's where I'm going with what I'm trying to say here, is that it was one of the first and few times that I'd read something like this in fantasy that's trying to do what it was trying to do, and it didn't use the kind of mythology that we're already so used to reading about and hearing about and seeing. And it's not like it's the only book out there that uses a Hindu base or Hindu mythology. It's not like it's they're quite a lot that are in the world now. But I will say it was one of the first for me, and I think it's also one of the first that I know is also written by a person of color, because there's a lot of mythology, non-white mythology, that's used as a basis for books out there that's written by white people. So for me, that's what I really liked about this book. I really loved the world and the mythology that was drawn on to create it, and I enjoyed it. Like Bree said, it was a nice read for me. It was a beautiful read for me. I thought that it was nicely written. I don't know that I really paid attention to the dialogue too much. I really wanted a little bit more. I do feel like Sheetal could have been. I'm not sure that Sheetal is the kind of person or kind of MC that I am always or consistently drawn to. But she had to deal with a lot of shit that I understand as an Indo-Trinidadian person, right? There were a lot of tropes and a lot of like subtle curry trade issues happening in this book that I really understood, and I liked that. I really appreciated that. Julie says, I said in my review, growing up on Bollywood, this book was so exciting because I felt I was reading a Bollywood movie, which I had so much fun with, especially knowing the songs the author was mentioning. Yes, this was definitely like reading a Bollywood movie. I think that's a great idea. But anybody who watches Bollywood and has seen enough Bollywood movies also know that there's a level of ridiculous and like, what's the word? Somebody help me out with the word here.
Campiness.
Campiness. Yeah. There are some levels of question mark that happen in a lot of Bollywood work that I really.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know that this book had that kind of like giant question mark, but it was a lot like reading a Bollywood movie.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, who's the director that made like the Bend It Like Beckham movie? This felt like one of her films, where it's kind of like that mesh between Western and Bollywood. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of the work that's coming out that uses like non-white mythologies or non-European mythologies, that kind of thing, I think that a lot of that work now is very Western, because they're often set like even this book, Star Daughter, was set it was a US setting prior to them arriving at the Celestial Court. The Arusha books, right? It's also is also an American setting, right? And so it's still very much Western or European is where we get it. So it's like it definitely features people who have already been well colonized. Yeah, we do.
One thing I liked is that the
Julie says Bollywood is a total cringy mess that we learn to live with.
yeah. One of the things that I liked was that there was no, oh, but all my American friends are doing this. It's like, yeah, we're American, you know, we wear t-shirts and jeans when we go to the mall, you know, and pick up a smoothie. But it wasn't like, oh no, I must how can I be happy as both an American and an Indian? And it's like, no, you know, they eat their little gulab jamun, they have their, you know, their parties, you know, they listen to their aunties and uncles and they hide to go and see a boyfriend. You know, it wasn't that I am so wondering how I'm going to do this because I have other problems, and being an American and you know, fitting into this culture is irrelevant. This is a story that could have literally taken place in India, and it would have had.
Nah, I disagree. This story could not take place in India.
Could have taken place like the birthday party.
Ma'am, no.
Why you say no? Why okay, that birthday party.
This story could not have taken place in India. I think that what some people, a lot of people realize, we have all of these. We do have, and you know, Julie, back me up. I don't think this cannot take place in India. What you really think? What you think, bro?
Just the birthday party I'm talking about.
The birthday party? Nah, that is very. I mean, maybe, but I think that a lot of the attitudes present. A lot of the attitudes and privileges present for Sheetal and her family and her friends to have, to engage with, to enjoy, like 95% of the population in India cannot enjoy this.
Right.
Right? I think surely, yes, see?
Billionaire India. Yeah.
Billionaire India, sure. But no, this is not average girl in India situation at all. At all.
But it was definitely, but you could see a Bollywood, you could see this being made in Bollywood though. You can see it.
I don't know, you know. This is a very, for me, it hits the right tones, it hits the right spots for me culturally because it is set in the US. And these are so many things. These are things that you get. I think perhaps maybe not uniquely, but certainly in a large part or for a large reason that they are or you are in America. There are so many things happening there that are happening and are able to happen because they're in the US, and that could not happen. Maybe in the UK. But the point is that it's still a Western setting. It's not a setting. This cannot take, nah. This wasn't happening in India at all. I had to disagree real hard there.
No, I just feel like
Julie says, I feel like the parallels of half star, half human were very much in line with half Indian, half American. How will I fit in vibes? I really agree with that. I think that a lot of, and that's one of the reasons that so much of the work coming out of the US that is non-white literature or like mainstream, like this one. Well then, Julie, I go send you the link, girl. Come. I don't understand. They talking about how Julie look the link, partner, come through, join me on screen. I don't understand.
But yeah, I mean, like that's kind of what I meant by my whole comment about, like, I felt like it was more like the that lady who directed the Bend It Like Beckham movie, because she kind of had that same kind of blend of, but you know, for her it was more like half like British, half like Indian type deal, and that's what I really enjoyed that movie. It felt like it was kind of bridging like two cultures, right? and she kind of has elements of Bollywood in her films, but they're very much so like Western style Hollywood type films that she's releasing. So
Well,
that's what it felt like to me.
and it makes sense because with YA, you tend to have a fantastical like aspect. You have to have something magical, the chosen one, or the person who doesn't quite fit in. And so I like how it's the parallels between Indian American, but then you throw in some stars in there because now you're going to get the young adults like
She's
chosen
like,
one, magical.
Yeah. I just felt like she was just like not concerned about fitting in culturally like that because, bitch, I have other problems, right? I have other problems. I need to keep
mommy
my
issues.
ups. Nobody could hear me sing. I need to keep my star side well and truly hidden. I need to pass as human, like a 100% human. Like that was, like to me, it felt like, okay, these are a list of problems, and these are the problems I can think of, and these are the problems that I can't afford to have these problems. My problems are way deeper than this. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, she had boyfriend problems. She had the boy on the mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the boy was like another huge thing too.
Honestly, that was one of the most realistic things about this book for me. The boyfriend problems because it's so real. Like this girl have a whole family, a whole universe, a whole sky at risk, and all she taking about is man. That's normal.
But he's cute. He's cute, and he writes songs for her. Of course, she's gonna think of him.
And he sings beautifully.
The twist.
Oh, I saw that one coming from a mile out.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed.
Why was he there? Why was he there in the first place if he wasn't going to have a big moment at the end? It's like, oh, you're just there with your cousin. You're the backup. Oh, no.
Nah.
We have a lot happening in the chat. Julia coming. They say I'm doing laundry. I look a hot mess. Well, put on some clothes. I don't know what to tell you.
Julie, this could be watching a hot mess. So,
you understand? BL says, I've talked to other writers about how mixed characters are portrayed in fiction. Julie says, mommy issues scream. Are the songs good? I don't know. You mean the songs in Bollywood? Anjali says, hormones. Come on. First of all, when the world is at stake, I feel like sometimes you just had to tell your piggy no, all right? Like, when the world is at stake, you need to prioritize, and penis should not be at the top of that list.
Yeah, but no. There are 24 hours in a day. You prioritize, but you can still multitask.
All right,
it takes 45 minutes of your day.
That's it.
That's fair. That's fair.
So much good,
everyone. Julie says the songs are the best. Thank you very much. And Anjali says hormone the rest for that. Well, okay, that's fine. Fine. I have to. I guess that's it. Just is what it is. But I thought that was really realistic. I thought it was hilarious. I think though the best friend. Oh my gosh, what is the best friend's name?
Mina.
Was it
Minal?
Yeah. Minal, the best friend. Minal was the MVP. Minal was the MVP. Checking she little girl and thing on the side, still getting it done. Now that is how you multitask with hormones. Me I know Sheetal learned how to do that, right? But Minal was. She knew.
Minal was on the ball.
Yeah.
She was on it. Yeah.
She knew how to multitask.
She was the Sam. She was the Sam to Sheetal's Frodo.
Yeah.
Wow. Julie said the best friend irked me so much.
What?
Nah, boy. I
liked her. Yeah.
Nah, Sheetal was going nowhere without Minal to make sure that that she had like. That wasn't happening, boy. That wasn't happening. Not at all.
I could have done without some of her jealousy type, like stupid comments, but overall, she's still a pretty good friend, and she's open about it. She's upfront with it. Hey,
I felt that the jealousy at comments and so on. I felt that really made her a real character. She was one of the most real characters there.
True.
right?
True. I agree
Like
with
there are
that.
aspects of Sheetal that I could have identified with, like not wanting to do something but being forced to go along with it. So therefore, if you're forcing me to do something, then I'm going to make it very, very difficult for you. It made her quite an asshole, and yeah, vibes. Felt that in the soul. Don't force me to do nothing.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the plot here. How did we feel about the sequence of events, about our character growth, about what actually happened in this story? And before we give us all a second to think about that, and we'll just check. Angeli says Sam annoyed plenty people too. It's true, but Sam was also the MVP. Sam did all the work, you know. All Frodo do is cry and walk. Frodo cried.
Frodo,
Frodo
Sam
walked.
had to tote him money back.
It's true. Frodo didn't even walk the whole way.
No, he didn't.
It's true. Yeah. Julie says, I think as a friend she was good, but as a character she irritated me. All right, I think that's fair. That's fair. Sometimes you could be a good friend to a human and also annoying to another human. That's acceptable. So let's talk about how we felt about the plot. How did we feel about the things that actually happened? How did we feel about the character growth?
It
Go.
was a YA plot. It was my dad's in trouble. I need to help my dad. I'm gonna be a good daughter. And then now I need to reconcile with mom because I have mommy issues. And here's a whole family I didn't even know I have. So like that's actually kind of relatable because I reconnected with a lot of my family in my late 20s. I have cousins I didn't even know when I was growing up. So I get that. That was kind of cool. But as a kid, trying to help her dad. And in the end, making peace with who she was. And was it earth-shattering? But yeah, I don't know. Comments?
No, it felt very High School Musical, but she has to do Dad's life. I got very High School Musical vibes out of it, or like victorious vibes, especially when she was in the court. Very victorious vibes.
Don't look at me sing. Don't look at me sing. Oh, I hope he saw me sing.
Yeah. Like you really like when you go through that self-conscious period, especially as a teen. It's like, please do not perceive me, except for you. Like you could perceive me, but only in the manner that I would like to be perceived. But I don't think I'm at that level of, perception yet. But yeah, like your own thoughts as a teen sometimes irritate you.
I mean, maybe not in the moment, but later on, you look back and just be like, what the hell was going through my brain, boy?
You couldn't pay me enough to be a teenager again. I will not do it. I refuse. Not even $1 million. I would not do it.
Nope. I
That's
totally agree with that. No.
I don't know what just happened. We lost Bree.
That's how much she does not want to be a teenager again.
That's exactly it.
Mic drop. Boom. Out.
Yeah. Shay, what about you? What did you think about the plot, the moment to moment, the events that occurred?
None of it had to happen. That's how I felt about it. Like, this was kind of like she was, regardless of what was going to happen, she was always going to turn into full star. By the time her birthday came around, she was, she kind of even kept saying like, she's like, if none of this had happened, if I wasn't with the boy or out doing anything, like none of this would have happened. And I'm like, yeah, this plot really didn't really have to happen either. So after she kind of pointed that out, I was just like, well, I don't know.
That feels so harsh. I feel like I enjoyed the book too much. I enjoyed this book so much too. But honestly, you're also not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
A lot of it would not have happened if they were open with her, if they had told her the truth, if she had gotten the letter. If you like,
that letter vexed me. That letter vexed me.
Yes.
But then again, I let me not speak for other people's experiences, but like my mom, my aunts, so on the side of the family that's Indian, that's their thing. Like it is such a source of pride to have a secret. It is such a source of, well, I knew this happened because this person told me. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm telling you now. So could we focus on what I am telling you, what my needs? Yes, but I knew this. Like, okay, we had that discussion about something as previously, but if that part of it felt so realistic to me, because I have lived that experience, not just once, not twice, but it has occurred so many times with relatives that I can tell you this part of it did not need to happen if they had been open and upfront, and that is simply not the experience that I have had with that particular side of the family.
You're muted there.
I just said I just wanted to bring it back to chat for a second to first shout out to Watless. Hello friend. How are you? Everyone is doing well. We are in a heated debate about this book that we have read. Some of us loved it and liked it and thought it was realistic. So look who reached!
Hey!
I mean, like,
All right.
like whatever, you know.
First, I want to read what Julie said in the chat, and then we will dive in. Welcome, Julie. Julie, this is Shayna. You already know Talia, and this is Bree at the bottom. Hopefully, you remember who I am. Julie said in the chat before they jumped in, yeah, but this whole plot is literally so realistic. This is how Indian families act. Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right, so thank you for validating that side of it for me.
This is true, because I felt, I don't know that I think that the whole plot was unnecessary or like nothing needed to happen, but I will say, watch now. If somebody had just opened their mouth and decided, I'm not going to be an asshole today, everything would have been fixed. Everything would have been fixed. Oh God, no! Oh gosh, your father, the love of my life, he lying down in his deathbed. Oh no! Of course I love this man. Here is an entire drop of my blood. Go save him. That's it, you know. Story done. No, I can't. I shan't. You must perform for this competition, lest her family lose power. Oh, our secret, our dark secret. Like,
better yet, or if Mama had just told her what she was, or if the aunt had told her what she was, she would have never burned her dad in the first place. We would never
Julie,
it's literally how Indian families act. The majority of Bollywood movies, the plot could have easily been solved by simple communication, but nobody communicates in Indian families. We don't communicate. It's the thing. Like, it's just the thing.
Like, communicate. What are we?
We won't communicate and we won't go to therapy.
Communicate. Therapy. What are we? Healthy family lifestyles? What?
Wanda says this is the elusive fifth member of the group.
Too.
Kind of. Seidel is technically our elusive fifth member. Seidel is ill. She's not here today. But Julie is a guest member. Julie is just like vibes when she feel like vibes and avoid. Normally, Julie just be hanging out in the chat. But today they had so much to say. They just, I sent an invite and they were like, well, yeah, all right, I guess I go put on some clothes and stuff doing laundry. So
your fire's busting.
What fire? They say that in the chat. Julie put that in the chat.
I did. I said it publicly.
No. Your mom, Anjali, can't never watch an Indian soap.
Excuse me.
Indian soaps are horrific. Don't watch them.
No. What my mother doesn't know is that I spent many a day on the couch with Joy watching the Indian channel. So you don't get to tell me I never watch no Indian soap.
I mean, this to me is more telenovela type.
Yeah, that's what Indian soaps are. They're very telenovela.
Yeah,
it's basically the same thing.
It's the same thing, different language.
Trust.
I grew up in the Southwest. Like all I have is like Spanish TV.
DJ Puni has also joined. Hello.
But ¿por qué, Maria? ¿Por qué?
¿Por qué?
I'm hoping here for book club because that's what's happening, right? Right now, DJ Puni, we have so far talked about how when the world is at stake, you shouldn't be chasing no piggy, but it has happened anyway because I guess hormones is a scene. Julie also bounced in so that they could tell us exactly how Indian families just operate. And the fact is, nobody does communicate and nobody wants therapy, and everybody had to hold on to a secret and never tell anybody the truth. Because if they only spoke to each other, there would be no drama. And Indian families just operate on drama, right?
You
If
left
they
with
had
the
no
drama.
drama, we're not a family, right?
It's true.
That's a book. Yes, this is our commentary on a book that we've read. Yeah. All right. So let's reel it back. We were talking about the plot. Um, the plot is that this girl named Sheetal is actually a star. She doesn't really know that she is a star or what her abilities are or anything like that. And she accidentally has the equivalent of a solar flare and hurts her father. And in order to save her father, she must now go into this big celestial star competition and win
American
it.
Idol.
Yes.
Well, no. This
Indian Idol.
no. Hold on. Time. So the way and my original comment where I was going with kind of before we dove into all of this was that this felt very much like Raiders of the Lost Ark to me. It really did, because that whole movie didn't have to happen. The Nazis would have gotten the Ark of the Covenant, opened it, and burned to death anyways. Sheetal would just still become a star and like could have either saved her dad or burned everyone up, whatever. It was gonna happen no matter what. That's how I felt. Hot take.
You know, Julie, tell these people about Bollywood TV.
Well, I feel like you all read the book. That was it. That's a summary of every single Bollywood movie. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, but you love it. You love it because it looks pretty. And I feel like if you have a background knowing Bollywood stuff or growing up in, that kind of Bollywood world and knowing anything about Hindu mythology, you know how pretty it is. So like if you're able to visualize how gorgeous everything looks, you kind of ignore the fact that it doesn't make sense and you just appreciate the prettiness.
And this was a very pretty book.
Yeah.
Like the scene in this book was gorgeous. Okay.
Yeah.
When Julie said earlier that this is basically reading a Bollywood movie, they were right. They were the most right.
They even
It
had
is-
songs. Like I know the songs. Like I was reading this thing and I really hated that they translated the song into English while she was singing it, because I feel like it really took the effect out of it. It's like, that's not what she's saying. Like she's actually singing in Hindi, in one of the songs, but they would like translate it in English, of course, because people have to understand things. But oh my goodness. Like the song, I can actually show all of the song. Y'all could play the song now. It's an actual song from an
YouTube, I will
actual
do it.
film.
I will do it. If you want to send me the link.
I will.
But yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean,
you know,
but
right
like my whole point is like, yeah, none of it had to happen. But kind of like going along with Angela saying was like, I loved Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love this book. It is beautifully written. I appreciate it for the adventure and the things that kind of happen along the way. And I think that for me, it's more so that this is an experience. This is something where, you're kind of like there to kind of live in the opulence of it, not so much there for like the actual plot that's happening.
Exactly. And that actually brings us a little bit to what Angela is saying in the chat, that Bollywood and soaps are all about the fantasy lives to make your
Yes.
normal life disappear for a couple of. It's why Bollywood
Yeah.
is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's why everything is beautiful and everyone is beautiful, right? It's about that fantasy. This book was really just a text-based Bollywood movie. And you know what? I liked it.
I loved it.
And I thought it was so realistic, because honestly, this is exactly how people just behave in real life. This is exactly how it would have played out. Watch any Bollywood movie earlier, and you will see that's how it is. That's
Like,
how people
tell me that aunt is not somebody you know.
Yeah, like I have an aunt like that.
100%. I don't know that I have an aunt like that, but I know
I
somebody.
have an aunt
You
like that. I
know
hate her.
somebody
She
like
acts the
that.
same way.
Like
I
to
can't
me,
stand her.
aunt was the most annoyingly accurate person.
Also,
And
Sheetal's
if
grandmother.
the person in question is not crazy over the couch is something else.
Yeah.
This is the song that Sheetal sang in her competition.
I'm gonna skip it here.
जहाँ चलेगा मेरा साया साथ
I find Tradition just sing it for me.
मेरा साया मेरा
We know you can sing.
साया मेरा साया मेरा
All right.
So gorgeous.
I feel like that's enough of a sample. Though, what less honesty, my Bollywood experience is asking why Shah Rukh Khan is 50 years old playing a 21-year-old. Julie, do you know
It's
why?
not that he's playing a 21-year-old. He plays his age, but they only cast him alongside 21-year-old woman, and they need to stop that. It's very annoying. He's a grown man. Let him play a father and a grandfather already. Oh my gosh. How long you gonna be playing the hot man?
Maybe until he stops being a hot man.
He will never stop though, that's the thing.
Exactly. Exactly. You know.
But then we get a 51-year-old woman with a 21-year-old guy, and we're a cougar. Okay. All right.
They'll never do it.
Are
As soon as
we?
women hit 25 in Bollywood, they're old. They have to leave.
Spinster.
Yeah.
Anjali says, note how all Bollywood music have full orchestral backup.
Well, all up until the early 2000s. But yes, when I tell you, the reason I genuinely enjoy this is because, and because she chose a Lata Mangeshkar song to her, like I grew up singing and competing as well. So I literally have a book next to me with songs from Lata Mangeshkar. This is how in depth I am. I'm like, I'm in this. I'm reading this book like this is about me. I am the half star singing in a competition. That's how I felt. It was nice.
Yeah. I think that a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? What am I seeking to describe here? Earlier we were talking about how there's this this like identity crisis, right? Am I Indian? Am I American? Am I this? Am I that? Am I a star? Am I immortal? Right? And I think that I had a thought that I never actually finished, and it was that I find that a lot of works that come out of the US or Canada that are written by people of color who have heritage that they know of that's like outside of the US and Canada, outside of North America, or even if they were born there, if they're first or second generation, as long as they have a fair connection to those roots, a lot of that work is identity based. And it's about discovery. And that is a huge thing in YA in particular, because regardless of whether or not you are the children of immigrants or you are an immigrant, I think regardless of that, when you're going through your teen years, you engage in the same kind of like, this is what coming of age is, right? It's that identity crisis and learning who you are and trying to figure out where your place in the world is and what kind of place you want to make for yourself in the world, right? And I don't think that this book was different to that at all, even though it was about stars versus mortals. It was just that for me, and I don't know, maybe for you, Julie, I got to see that struggle happen in a fantasy novel that I enjoyed, and it was a girl who potentially looked more like me than they looked like, I don't know, Keira Knightley. Right? Or I don't know, I honestly just picked a white actress and that was who came to mind. So like I don't know if Keira Knightley has ever done anything coming of age. I've not. I don't know.
She's in Bennett like Beckham. We was just talking about her.
Oh yes, yes. Right, she is. She
Right.
is. She was the main character in Bennett like Beckham, though. Right.
She was
But
the friend.
yes.
The lesbian. Was she a lesbian?
I don't think so.
No.
They
No.
thought
She was
that they were
Minal.
lesbians.
Minal.
Yeah.
But not just that, like you read this entire book and nobody was Becky or Helen
I
You know
appreciate
what?
it as.
or Kevin.
Just Dave. Wasn't he Dave?
Just
The
Dave.
boyfriend?
Well, the
But it's
Indian
Evie.
version of Dave.
Yeah, yeah. The Evie. Davis acceptable.
Yeah, they was fine, right?
Oh, I you know what? I listened to it on audio. How did they spell it?
DEV.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I see
Like
her
Dave
and I
Chappelle.
was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's short for
I
Devin.
think non-Indians would say it as Dev, but it's just Dave. It's just Dave.
That's Steve.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah, when you listen on audio, you can't tell. So now I know.
Yeah,
It
I don't.
was
I don't.
that.
Right.
Yeah. So
And,
nothing written.
It's terrible writing advice. Just give them a normal first name and leave their last name as whatever ethnic.
Ethnic.
Leave it as being ethnic. So you do the diversity thing that editors want from you now. So like none of that. I mean, nobody was named
Jennifer.
Did we have a single white person in this cast?
probably like a nurse or something.
There was a nurse. Oh yeah.
I didn't imagine any of the nurses being as white. So
Anybody is white in this book.
No, me
They
neither.
were in Jersey, but still.
When's
Yeah.
Exactly.
when's the
And
last
that-
time you saw a white nurse?
This thing took place in an American city, and it was still very, very, because it was so family oriented. Like they didn't need a white savior. They didn't need, a white best friend, for that. They didn't need none of that. It was just so authentic too.
And I think that is something that people I don't necessarily think of very often when we engage when we're writing, and we're so trained. And I don't know that this is everybody, right? But I know that it took me some time when I was writing to recognize that even though I certainly had a lot of characters who were non-white, I still had some who were, and I always asked myself why. Why are white people in this story at all? They don't need to be here.
do
they
you
need to
have
be here?
white friends in real life? Like in your
I do have white friends in real life.
not like living elsewhere, but like in your face? Do you see white people on a daily basis? Because I don't.
I don't.
I
Exactly.
also do.
Exactly. You do?
My white friends are all online.
Yeah, all of my white friends live abroad. None of my white friends live in Trinidad and Tobago. At least not that I can think of. Who is white?
Julie,
and lives
are you in Trinidad also?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
used
mean,
to
I have
be
like my
his
family
neighbor.
and so on, like my dad's side.
Surrounded.
I know we're surrounded at all corners.
But that's actually what I'm getting at, right? And I think that when we write something that is based in, let's say, the US, and we think about that as well, is like, well, it's the US, so it's realistic for a white person to be here. And the answer is actually no, it's not. It's actually not. When you engage with Peabody, hello, puppy.
Checker.
What was I saying?
Yeah, it's not realistic to engage. To
Right.
have
So
to engage.
we don't. Yeah. So we assume that we need to have white representation in that book because of its setting, because it's realistic for it to exist. But it's actually not necessarily. I'm not saying that it isn't ever, but I think that there are a lot of situations where it's not necessary and it's not realistic. Yeah. because
Especially in this case.
Especially in this case, right?
Right.
Maybe there may have been extras. Like if you were visualizing it like a movie the way I did, and I guess the way Julie did, then maybe you would see some extras who were, but I didn't was.
I feel like even still, like I have relatives who live in like Canada and in the US, and they tend to live in communities where
Exactly.
it's just like my aunts who immigrated and they live in New York, they live in a community where it's the majority is just Caribbean folk. So all her neighbors are Guyanese and Jamaican and Trinidadian. So you go there and you don't really feel like you're anywhere else. You feel like, oh, I'm at home. Everyone
Exactly.
you're seeing looks like you.
Exactly. That happened to me growing up too, because I would visit my family who lived in New York,
Yeah.
and everybody on that street was Caribbean.
Yep.
Everybody. I had to leave the vicinity and like go far
To see a white person.
to see how I was on. I would,
Well,
right?
and we saw that.
This is like spot the white person.
We saw that in the well-run Stry also.
We did. I was literally just thinking about
Yeah.
that, Brie. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
they
true.
described that.
That's true.
Wow.
That's so true. And we also have a tendency, I think that any group of people who can identify as having a similar background or nationality or something like that will stick together, right? Because you feel that camaraderie. And so when Caribbean people leave and then they all congregate in like one area, they will all go to this like one other place that they will patronize, like these other one or two specific places. So like even the hall where they were having their birthday party and everything, I wouldn't bet it was owned by
Yeah.
other Indian people.
Yeah.
Because the food was, the food seemed to have been catered. It didn't say, well, this was this person making this and that person. It was,
was that
Right.
was so fun.
And what person of East Indian ethnicity, if you want to call it that, going to purchase food from somebody and you not sure if them could make that curry properly?
It's true. It's true. And I remember visiting the States, and my aunt was like, oh, we have to go to the market. We have to go shopping, and then we can stop and get some food. And we go to this market, and it's like a street, right, with like stores. And there is no white people here. It's just, this is Caribbean. There's Caribbean stores and Caribbean groceries, and everything is West Indian. And then we're like, okay, let's go have lunch. And it's a literal Trinidadian store. We had doubles for lunch. And I'm not feeling like I am, like, I feel like I'm at home. Like, I'm eating doubles right now. Like, this is not foreign. I wanted the American experience. Where is it? But in these communities, that's how it is.
Like my mom used to live in New York, and then they moved to Pennsylvania. And they wish, and she was fine living in New York, even though she was she lived in a Jewish community because her husband is Jewish. She lived in a Jewish community in Brooklyn, and then they moved to Pennsylvania. And my mother has been complaining that she cannot get Shadobani.
Yeah.
How many
These are
hours
real
she needs to drive to get
Yeah.
Shadobani and to
real
get thyme
It's
and to get pimento.
I had something that I did make here and I brought with me to Florida when I was when we were still at Florida Tech, right?
Over a decade ago.
Over a decade ago now, yeah.
Don't
wow.
show your age. That was
All
just
right.
age. Just
Well,
Whatever.
whatever.
I don't mind.
We were there
Right?
yesterday.
Nobody tried
Yesterday.
to pass me.
yesterday. Yeah.
I'm going back in a month. Whatever.
I remember bringing something that we'd made here up there, and Professor Sindan had some, and he loved it, and he was like, "What is it? What is the seasoning in this? What is the thing that you're using? Is it cilantro? Is it cute? What is it?" And I was like, "No. This doesn't grow here." And I went through like all sorts of like crazy things in order to be able to like get him some that he could grow at home. It was wild. Yeah, I think he did though. He like eventually grew it because he had like a little greenhouse set up in his backyard or something that he eventually grew Shadow Benny. And he learned how to make like half of the things that Mom brought up for me from Trinidad.
I think it's so funny that Shadow Benny is this coveted, precious item in foreign, but here it grows like a weed.
Yeah,
Get rid of it.
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It grows out of the cracks in a sidewalk, and we don't care about it. It's everywhere.
We don't care about it until it's time to season something.
Yeah, then you have to have it.
Then
It's
you
like
have to have it. Then
you
you have to have it.
have it. As
It has
long
to
as
be
you're doing
absolutely
something
without that.
savory, you have to have that
true.
in your pot.
Your dish is nothing without it.
You know that gene where that makes cilantro, which
Tastes
is
like
equivalent
soap.
to make it taste like soap.
Lord.
Could you imagine living in the Caribbean
No,
and having that gene?
Mm-mm.
horrible.
No.
Unless you're gonna, and if you do have that gene, I think
That's
you're
a
the
horror
kind that
story.
would eat soap because it tastes
Somebody
good.
should write that. Write a short story
I was
about
now
it.
about to say. That is a 6-word horror story there.
It could be a
is.
curse. Somebody messed with somebody. They got
Ooh,
cursed.
Wow.
I'm gonna
I'm gonna use
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna use that.
I
on the
hope
now.
every time you eat food at Shadow Benny, it tastes like
Tastes like soap.
You can
it
have
tastes like blue soap.
you can have a Trini folktale.
There you
Trini
go.
folktale.
Yeah.
I like it.
You know, my favorite thing about us is how we just take these tangents and we run with them so far away from what we were supposed to be talking about.
Well, let me see if I can bring it back, right? So
Do
what
it.
I torture myself by reading comments from people who don't know about different cultures. So I was reading this from some Caucasian reviews of this book.
Why would you do that?
Because
I was bored. I tortured myself, okay? Don't stop king shaming me. Yes.
Aw.
So anyway, so the person was saying that there was a lot they didn't understand about the Desi culture. For example, they could have explained the food more. And I'm like, nope.
Mm-mm.
You put it in your
Look
mouth,
it up.
food, you knew it was something to eat.
Look it up, then.
They wanted more of an explanation of these things, right? And I was like, and that was my Twitter rant the other day. I was
Yeah.
like, if you put it in your mouth, it's something to eat, right? If you put it on,
I
and
mean,
it's earrings, it's something to wear. If you pluck the strings and you sing along to it, it's a musical instrument. What more did you need to get through this story?
if only there was a magical place that you could go and like,
Google.
yeah. Oh my god.
look at how quickly we all picked up on that one.
Hey.
Oh my god, yo.
And the thing is like, if you see something to eat, look up a recipe. Which I heard a joke about penne alla arrabbiata. I was fairly young. I knew what penne was. I knew it was pasta. What the hell is alla arrabbiata? And I went and I looked it up and I found a recipe.
Give me a second, Natalia. Julie, you there?
And I made
I
it.
think so. My camera keeps disconnecting. I don't know why. But that's okay.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to see me.
Sorry, Talia, go ahead.
Yeah, but that is the whole point of is like if I could do that for a European recipe, right? It was very, very tasty. I loved it. I recommend it to anybody, you know. But anyway, if I could hear that in a joke and I can look it up, I knew they were talking about food, right? I got the point that this thing was tasty and that peas don't generally go with it, right? It was part of the joke. Right? And I could look it up and I can find it, but I didn't need to know exactly what it was to appreciate the joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did not need it at all, right? Because context clues are a thing, right? Because this thing was taking place in a cafeteria, and this was Darth Vader going to get his food, and he ordered the penne alla arrabbiata, and they asked him if he wanted peas with it, and there was a whole bit about it afterwards. I got the point, because that's what happens in a cafeteria. They serve food. So clearly, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. I did not finish college, but it was something to eat. In a cafeteria,
It's
you can
because
get
white people don't want to work. They don't want to work to find out stuff. Growing up as a child, we didn't have these kind of books to read about our culture, seeing it reflected on a page. We had to read the white people food. We didn't know what the white people food was. I didn't know what that food was, but I was reading this like, okay,
figured that shit out as we grew older.
There's a series of commentary floating around Twitter and TikTok and other places on the web where people talk about shit. Where they talk, some people specifically use the Marvel movies. Some people talk about it with regard to publishing in particular, and it's that people of color have a huge onus on them, on their shoulders, to engage in world building in a particular way so that white readers can understand it.
Yeah.
Whereas white people writing about white characters in books that are European or Western or something else that is common and something else that we would all have grown up with, they don't have that same weight on their shoulders. They don't have to world build as well or as rigorously or as anything. The one that uses Marvel specifically, they talk about how there's like no world building in shit like Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And those others, but with like Black Panther and so on, you had a ton of world building because you really needed to,
prepare the white audience.
Yeah, you had to spoon
Lest
feed
they get
people,
bored and confused.
right?
Poor
And I've been thinking more and more about that and about how I don't want to do that.
You shouldn't have to.
And I
Yeah.
thought that I thought that was very subversive, that because she did not do that type of world building where she explained it, she gave her world building, and there it is. Now
did
come
her
join me on
world
this journey.
For people who understood the foundation she built her world on,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the thing. When you use a foundation that's not what we already know, then you had to do some kind of but there is an entire population on this planet that still live in that foundation. There is no reason. There's no reason to do that.
India is what, the largest or the second largest population on the earth?
Something like that. Big enough.
Big enough.
Big enough, yeah. It's
Right.
up there.
But
Right,
I will
and
say,
that is not including the East Indian diaspora that's in the Caribbean or in Europe or in the US or even Australia. It does not even include that, right?
it's worth noting though that I don't think, remember that when publishers in the US and Canada work on publishing something, they're not looking at the population of India.
Yeah,
They don't know what the population of India
No.
reading. There's a publishing house there that will deal with them. They're looking to sell their book at booksellers in Canada or in the US or in
Right.
whatever country bought those rights. Now, maybe they bought world rights and they're distributing across seas, but their primary audience is going to be in whatever likely North American country, right, they produce their books in. And even so, you really want to tell me that you want to cater to the people them who have never heard of gulab jamun?
which by the way, I was eating on stream a couple minutes, a while ago.
No, you were probably eating Trini gulab jamun and not Indian gulab jamun.
Actually,
There's a difference. What we call gulab jamun is just pat korma. Gulab jamun is actually is what we call rasgulla. So
yes.
Well, I was
Also, like what we call laddu and what we call parsad and what they call laddu or parsad up like in India still is different.
is different, right?
Yeah. Like those things still exist differently. And there's a whole I made a war going on with Julie damn thing now. Anyway. Whew, all right. So reeling it back in one more time.
Yeah. So the point is, so she wrote this story. Like there was a lot of mythology that I did not previously know, right? Because even though like my mom's side is East Indian, my mother converted to Catholicism, and then and Christianity after she married my father, had me, etc. But I did know some mythology. I know some of the religion because aunts and uncles, right? Both my grandparents are buried according, had Hindu funeral rites taking place, etc. But it was still so easy for me to follow along because again of the context clues, and it was just, and to me the that part of it, like the setting,
Yeah.
I give her, like, if out of 4 stars I give her, like, out of 5 stars I give her 6 for setting. I give her 6 for setting and for atmosphere. Like, she did it. She did it. You know,
Yeah.
she did the damn thing, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I don't have that same cultural understanding, but like, I could
Right.
still follow the story. I could still understand, like, you know, these are references to a mythology that, you know, I've not grown up with, I'm not familiar with. But again, there's a magical thing called Google that if I wanted to go have a larger appreciation for this, like, I can find the information. And like, and I did, I went and I looked up a few references, a few things, and learned a little bit more. So like that is something that I definitely appreciated about this book. But I, like, you know, you didn't have to have like this big in-depth knowledge of, you know, the story and the mythology behind it to follow along in this story. And I didn't even give it a second thought.
I agree. I had the
Yeah.
same experience. And I had a similar experience with books like Raybearer, where
Yeah.
I'm not from Africa. I'm not familiar with Afro mythology, but I'm able to expand my mind enough and listen to the context to now be able to, you know, understand the story and enjoy the story. And so similarly with Star Daughter, was I familiar with all the mythology? No. But I got enough from the context. And like you said, Google, it's not that hard to Google. I love Indian food. So that wasn't an issue for me. I was just like,
Yeah.
sounds delicious. You know,
Yeah.
talk about samosa. I'm like, I could use a samosa right now.
I went and tracked down my favorite food truck yesterday just so I could get my fix. And it was gorgeous. It was beautiful.
Y'all, I'm
But-
sorry, I keep dropping in and out. Like, I don't know, my computer is not having fun right now.
but
It's all
again,
good.
also you read, I think as readers, as non-lazy readers, we read to learn. We read to experience things that we may not have experienced. Why am I going to read something I do every day? That's why I'm not necessarily a fan of contemporary in general. Because if it's normal, I live it every day. I want to read something fantastic, something where I have to expand my imagination a little bit. And sometimes that means something different culturally. But I think it's beautiful as a reader to be able to adopt that and learn and enjoy.
You're right. And the thing is, like, if you really enjoyed it, you're going to go and look it up and find out more if you want to. And I feel like it's so interesting how we expect people of color to do that for like white cultures. Like, we expect, like, you write Greek mythology and Roman mythology, and you expect people in the Caribbean to be like, oh, I want to learn about it. And I want to go and learn about all these different, you know, the gods and goddesses or whatever in the mythology. And we do go and look it up, and we do go. So why can't other people do the same for, you know, mythologies that aren't really heard of as much?
Yep.
I think it's also worth noting that there are so many people in the US who write like Eastern European based work, like work on using Eastern European mythologies or folk tales, etc., and get it wrong. They also get it wrong. And it's interesting, Julie, that when you said that you said white cultures, which honestly is the right term, right?
Yeah,
Like,
correct.
people talk about white culture, and it's like, bro, what is that?
Which
What is
one?
that? Yeah, which do you mean like Eastern European?
White supremacy culture. That's what they're meaning when they say white culture.
But that's so different too. That's a
Yeah,
different,
it is.
and
It
white
is.
supremacy culture is real. That real.
And that, and like something I read, they said that white supremacy, and what makes white supremacy different from being able to appreciate your German heritage, Irish heritage, etc., is the homogenization.
Yes.
Make everything same, and wanting to make everything same is part and parcel of white supremacy, right?
I mean, how boring is that though?
I was about to
Honestly.
say that's boring
How
and
boring.
lazy and lazy.
And talk about lazy. So I can't remember. I think it might have been Sheetal, which is the is it Lee Bardugo?
Oh boy. I talked about this
man.
in my last video too, you know. I did a whole book review thing and I reviewed like 5 different books. And it was 2 of the ones from the Grishaverse and Stardust was in it. Oh
I
boy.
haven't read any of the Grishaverse books.
When Julie,
I'm not. I don't know if I will, but I did want to make this one point. Because when we talk about people who are they're white and they have roots in, I don't know, like Irish roots or some kind of Eastern European roots or something, and they're like, well, this is a white mythology, and I have roots that are somewhere back there. I can write about this, and so they do it, and then they get things wrong. That's a real thing. That is a real thing. This is a thing that they do, that people do. Someone was talking about how I think the main character's name is Starkov, but it's supposed to be Starkova.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a bunch of people who, they're like a bunch of people who. Oh yes, I think this guy's name is what, Alex or Alexander or something, and they call him something for short, but like you would call him Sasha. That would be his short name, but they don't call him Sasha.
No.
Right? And so like people who are, for lack of a better term, more Eastern European, right? They read these books in like the US version, or they watch the
shake
show
their
on
head.
Netflix, and they're just like, what is happening? This is not right. This is not right. And I had a bunch in one of the Discord servers I'm in for writers. We had a whole conversation about that. And then I saw a whole series of like TikToks of like Eastern European people watching Shadow and Bone. And they were just like, why are they calling him? This is Sasha, right? Is that who they're talking about? What's happening?
And it really isn't fair that
Vistakova, is she a boy? What is happening? Is this like a is this her identity? Like what is this referring to? Like it was a mess.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It really isn't fair how white people can do that. They're allowed to do that. No one says anything. It's like they do it and it's fine. No one cares. But you let a person of color make one mistake, they're crucified. They're crucified.
It's true. Angeli says, I just want you all to note that getting things through context is often more likely for the above average reader. That is BS.
That's not true.
I think that's BS. What Angeli
that is racist against white people. Are you saying that white people are unable to read and below above average readers? Is that a Caucasian thing? I don't think so. Feels well racist, man.
In today's stream.
What just happened?
I had a people.
Hold on. To be fair, something I learned when I was a lot younger was that, and it's really sad, but it's very true, is that like the average reading level in the US, right, is like
Oh, okay, wait. If
sixth-
we're talking
sixth
US,
grade.
definitely. Yeah. Okay.
sixth grade.
No, Angeli's right. Angeli's right.
She is right. She is right. Like
She says,
average reader.
Yeah, I'm saying that getting things from context is part of IQ testing. I mean, I guess.
So are we
It's
being
true.
able
It's
by
valid.
people to get?
Are we?
Are we?
Is that being ableist? I don't.
Is it?
I like facts, right? So I think and I learned this a long time ago, is that like, you know, I was in third grade when I was already like, people were like, oh yeah, you're definitely way above average and stuff. And that's what I learned. Like all of our newspapers, like in the US, at least all of the newspapers and television shows and everything, those are all written at a level that's equivalent to like, for us, like sixth grade, middle school, primary school level.
And eye-catching. I want to make it eye-catching.
Yeah. Insane. Bree, you were going to say something else.
Yeah. I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say a quick pro-life tip. I was going to say this is why when you are talking to a potential partner and you're going on a date, ask them what the last book they read was. It's very enlightening. And ask them if they have if you ever go to their house, just look at their bookshelf. Just take a look.
Oh, that's standard.
Yeah.
Standard.
Yeah. Tells
Yeah.
you a lot about a person. You're like, oh, you read magazines. Okay.
There's
I
nothing wrong
mean-
with reading magazines.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with reading magazines.
If you
Oh,
go
wait,
to
wait,
someone's house and you look at their bookshelf and they don't have a lot of books, books are expensive. Maybe they have ebooks and they have audiobooks.
You know what?
Exactly.
Well, you asked that. That's what I mean. You get it.
Yeah, I went on a date recently, and the guy actually asked me, what music have you downloaded lately? And he asked for me to hand over my phone so he could see what music I had downloaded recently. And I was like, that is an interesting question. Anyways, so I felt like looking at someone's Netflix list, at someone's music, and as well as what books have they
Kindle.
read. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, let me see your Kindle.
Let me see your Audible account.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's where we're
just to
headed.
catch
That's
up-
where we're headed, y'all.
Just to catch up with Anjali here in the chat, she says, this is why modern testing focuses on pattern recognition, and all of us here are above average, so give the other 80% of people a chance.
Damn.
I read magazines, Anjali says, yes. But just to be
I
clear,
write
we are not
magazines.
saying...
I can't discriminate against magazines.
Yeah, it's something
No.
I don't think, to be clear, we're not trying to say that reading magazines is a bad
No.
thing.
I
But
didn't know that.
if you are unable to read a novel entirely, I think is what we're getting at. Not for everyone, but for our personal tastes and our personal preferences, which you know what, we're fucking allowed to have.
And there are so many different types of novels, and
Yeah.
I feel like you should be able to find something. you
Find
like.
one. Find one.
I
Find
mean,
something.
that's I'm looking at my niece right now, and she's 8 years old, and her homework that she has to do is entirely focused around finding the context of the story. So I don't even feel like it's that above average. I mean, I think she's an intelligent young lady, but she's in primary school, third grade, elementary here for people in the U.S., and that's a pretty young age, I feel like, and we're already trying to teach them how to look at context in a story. I don't feel like it's asking that much more of people that are reading, especially this
Certainly
type
not
of
an
a
adult
novel.
reader.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, though, this is a YA novel, which means it is also not written
It
for
is,
an
yeah.
adult audience.
That's
It is
right.
written for teenagers.
Yeah.
Right? What says that someone asked the last book I read was the Holy Bible, aka the TV Guide. We had nothing to say to yours. Not at all.
People still buy TV guides?
I was gonna say, who reads the TV guide?
Us 30-year-olds remember what they are. I don't think new people know what they are.
I know. That's
No idea.
people don't watch television.
Cable.
We watch Netflix, we watch
Netflix.
Prime and
On
Hulu.
demand.
On demand.
Exactly.
Stuff
Everyone I know who still watches TV and uses a TV guide is
They're old.
20 years older or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Anjali
They don't know how
says
to
if
use
it's
the
a
remote.
Kanye, it's bye-bye. I'm working on that, okay?
Yeah, I have nothing to say to that. Listen, I don't discriminate against the music that you listen to unless you're listening to I don't know, anti-black music or something, or something else that suggests to me that you might be a white supremacist, which I guess might be Kanye, actually. But that's a whole different conversation.
Kanye, I love the way he would mix stuff. But anyway, ugh.
Talent and content are different things. It's like R. Kelly. Nobody wants to listen to R. Kelly because we know he's a rapist. So
I'm working on it.
y'all gonna have to do all the talking because the ice cream truck is playing. It's very loud music back here. So I'm gonna mute.
I could go for some ice cream.
Seriously.
I want that ice cream at the end of the book she was describing. Remember that?
Yes.
It's a big old swirly thing that tasted like
Damn.
wine in the sky, and I was like, "That sounds."
Yes.
I want
That's-
that.
This sounds suspiciously like the gelato that I like to go get down the road. So if we could wrap this up so I could go get some.
So this was nice, guys. But
Yeah, ice cream. Let go.
We could do this. We could wrap this early if y'all really wanted to.
no, I like that it was such a light plot, right? And I liked that you're talking about young people with, I don't want to say a limited vocabulary,
But
but
young people problems.
Yeah, young people problems.
Yeah.
And it's like, let me read pretty people problems because she's beautiful with her silver hair and he's a beautiful man with, Bollywood looks. And her cousin's kind of hot and he's from New York. And I liked that. I could see this being played on the Disney Channel. I could see this
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say though, the cousin was kind of scummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
cousin was so scummy. Does
He
anybody
was,
remember what his talent was supposed to be? What he was there to do?
The writer.
Poetry, right?
He was a
Poetry.
writer.
Yeah, he's a
Okay.
writer.
All right.
But like, he kind of reminded me of like oh no, not Aladdin. I was gonna say Jafar, but I think the better I guess Disney equivalent was, what's the name of like the priest from Hunchback of Notre Dame? Like that
I
guy.
don't remember.
Yeah. That's the
He
kind
was
of
just
villain.
power hungry. He was
Power
power hungry.
hungry.
His morals were questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was a skeezy
He's a-
character,
he's a
absolutely.
drug
But he
addict.
But
got
can
what
we
he
talk
was-
about the punishment he got though?
Oh, that was
was
clever.
mean
That
and
was
bitchy
so-
and petty, and I was there for it.
Yes.
Look,
I do
look,
not remember the punishment
look.
that he got.
Oh my, okay. Let me
He-
tell you the punishment.
Okay, all right.
He did not
Okay.
win the competition. He would have had his memory wiped.
Mhm.
But he was disqualified for stabbing her. And it's like, however, we're not going to wipe your memory. You're going to remember everything that happened here. And you will never get inspiration again.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Of your fire trucking life.
Ooh.
And I was like,
but look, he doesn't deserve to
that was
forget.
so mean and despicable. I loved it.
But I think that's a good young adult lesson, is that your actions
Yeah.
have consequences that will stay with you forever.
That's
Nothing gets
right.
washed away. Your high school detentions and your high school suspensions and whatever happened to you in high school, it gets washed away. Nobody gives a fuck. Excuse me. But
We curse here. We curse on this
Okay.
channel. That's a fact.
but it's like, this is teaching you your actions have consequences. You fuck up, it's gonna stay with you forever. So actually, I like that lesson. I think it was
Yep.
appropriate.
It was,
Yeah, that's true.
I loved it.
What I had been thinking of was, for some reason, when I was trying to remember his punishment, all I could think of was the story about the star that was like caged and
Oh yeah.
that was there was some brutal stuff in here. Huh?
Yeah.
There was some really dark kind of brutal like things.
Yeah. I remember I was listening to the book, and we got to where Sheetal had like kind of first had that dream where we learned about who was like her aunt or her great aunt. Yeah. And like, we have like this whole story, and I kind of maybe zoned out a little and kind of refocused back in the middle of that. I had to like rewind to the beginning of that chapter. I'm like, wait, what is this? But yeah, no, it got pretty brutal. That was that was definitely a turn.
It was heavy.
It was heavy.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's kind of like, well, family secrets always kind of come out heavy, don't they?
And the whole scene with that would have been her aunt.
Great aunt.
Her
Her
great
great
aunt.
aunt.
Yeah. Whatever
Yeah.
whatever the white culture calls it. I don't know. For us, I'm like, for me, I'm like, that's my grandma.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's her grandmother's younger sister, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like that does come back. I think that's also a very Bollywood thing. What do you think, Julie?
It is. It is.
Yeah. I think that was also a really Bollywood thing. Like it's this big family secret what happened. But at the same time, it's like it's this horrible, like heavy, really emotionally charged, truly dark thing that really needs to be talked about and described. And but nobody wants therapy.
We don't talk about like heavy things that have happened, like things that have affected a family member or stuff. We just kind of pretend it didn't happen. That's kind of how we deal with stuff. And also, Sheetal's grandparents, I found that they reminded me a lot of the king and queen from this Bollywood movie Khoobsurat. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's actually a Disney film. But Khoobsurat, there's it's like Disney princess kind of vibes, right? And there's like this king and this queen, and their interaction is very much how Sheetal's grandparents were, and I feel like that was really realistic. Like the grandfather was a little more, like he didn't really speak much, and he was kind of softer, and the grandmother was like very like strict and whatever. Like she was like clearly wearing the pants in this family, the matriarch, and I did like that because we don't see a lot of that in Indian families, so that was appreciated. But I also felt like Sheetal herself did not really seem interested in developing a relationship with any of her family members. She was just like, okay, I just want to do my job and leave. Like, nice to meet you, grandma, grandpa, mom, everybody. Can I go?
And
Because they rejected her first. I get it.
yeah.
Mhm. Because at the forefront of her mind, as a fellow daddy's girl, right? At the forefront of her mind is, I just need a drop of blood to go heal my dad. That's all. Just give me this drop of blood. Let me just go my way and let everything be fine. And let the chips fall where it may. Let tomorrow's problems be handled tomorrow. Everything else is a tomorrow's problem until I can heal dad.
Also,
Right?
the guilt came from her hurting her dad.
Yeah.
And so the longer
Yeah.
she was there learning about being a star and faced with the fact that I am a star, I did this to my dad, I think being there was more jarring. It's like, I want to go back to earth and forget I'm a star, you know?
Yeah. And
I feel
what
like
I like though is that after her transformation, she was the reason that he was healed.
Owning
And-
yourself results now in, the solution to
Right.
the problem. So that was beautiful. I think that was beautiful.
that was really nice for me.
I feel
Yeah,
like
that-
Sheetal as a character, for me, if she felt kind of flat for the majority of it, right up until she chose the song she wanted to sing for the competition solely because it was the song that her mother used to sing for her father. And that was the one time she was like, yeah, I'm gonna be spiteful right now. I throw it back in your face. Watch, I remember
Yeah.
the song, I remember everything. And I liked that. I was like, yes, Sheetal, have some balls. Come on. I
Yeah.
wanted more of that.
I mean,
I like that she wasn't.
the realism of pettiness.
Yeah, like I said, I could identify with. Not going to do anything unless I can be petty and be a bitch about it. Like I could identify with that because she just wants to have like this nice boyfriend and she can hold hands and kiss him and they can make cookies and she can go to the mall and get a smoothie and whatever. She wants that life. That is the life she thinks she's going to be living. And now you're telling me I have no choice but to be this? But you could have told me that. You could have given me that letter. You could have been more there for me. You know how to sing to me so that, call to me.
Like, y'all
I-
are literally
tell me
stars
this.
in heaven. And y'all have this big, amazing, magical technology where you could see everything happening on Earth, and not once you didn't say anything to me.
And like I saw Sheetal for who she was because again, the asshole in her.
I wanted her to be more of an asshole. I wanted her to be more spiteful. I really
But-
like.
But
I
she
really
still
wanted
had
that.
she still had her upbringing, which was be the good girl, be the good daughter, don't bring shame to the
Exactly.
family. Because she's not thinking that she's gonna bring shame to anybody but her father.
And daddy's the one who was there for she. And
Daddy
it's
was
more
the
than about shame, It's more than about bringing shame to her father because her father was her world. Her father's life was in the balance, which is one of the reasons, honestly, it annoyed me that she was just thinking, what man,
Yeah.
right?
And the wrong man too.
Your father is dying and you need to do this to save him. Fine. You had to play by their rules, play their crap shitty game. Fine. You had to do what you had to do, right? But why are you trying to run down this stupid boy in the meantime who done betray your trust, right?
It's because he had a good singing voice. I understand. I would run down Sonu Nigam. I would run down Sonu Nigam any day. I really would. That man can sing.
I hear you.
Wow. Nah.
It's
nah.
true.
You know about all that. But I also think that there's
Like
some
he had the
reason-
better story out though.
the boyfriend.
Yeah, Dave. He had the better story arc in the sense that I am young and I am stupid and I am going to make a mistake. And I made a mistake and I betrayed your trust. But here I am and I am going to help you as much as I can. And like he showed her repeatedly through the book. To me, he did the best that he could do to redeem himself. And then he won the competition and he didn't want to be a famous singer everybody else wanted him to be, but not kind of turned on him to be something that he didn't want to be, right? Because she didn't want to be his me. She didn't know that she had this power, right? And he talked to and like in the end when he said, listen, I knew that this is who you were, but I did my absolute best to not draw from you to write this song. And this song was such a labor of love and emotion that I poured into it. And that song that he wrote for her without her input, right? That to me, like I felt like he knew what he came from, and he knew what he wanted to be, but he couldn't yet bridge that gap. And of all the people who had, in terms of a character arc, I thought that he had the best character development of all of them.
I think that's actually fair to say. I think that's a fair assessment given what you.
And I also agree with you. As a protagonist, your father lying down in a hospital, desperate in need of a drop of star blood. Focus, bitch, focus.
For real, I will say I spent so much of this book just being like, girl, eye on the prize. Eyes on the prize. Like it was I don't understand. I didn't understand.
I think
imagine that.
There's a point in the book where I think she, like, in her internal dialogue, I guess, or like even pointed out the fact that like how in the world can I be this bad at singing right now when I used to like couldn't wait to like show people how well I can sing. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing here then? Like, come on, let's go. There were so many times where I was just like, oh, there's so many level and layers of like self-doubt and like just things that like I remember, personally going through when I was younger, that I'm like, okay, like for a younger audience, like I think a lot of people can identify with that and it's a good thing. And she works her way through it, but I don't know, being an older person reading this novel who has kind of worked through and passed a lot of these issues, I'm like,
already.
Yeah.
Before I had children, before I got married, I was into karate, and one day they called upon me and they said, okay, do the first kata. So you go up, you're supposed to bow, announce what you're going to do, and start. So I walk up to this spot as I was instructed to do, bow, and freeze. I was asked to do the most basic thing in class, and Uncle, Sensei Lex, but I call him Uncle. It's like, well, say something, do something. What is happening to you? And I was like, listen, if you had asked me in that moment what my name was, I think I would have forgotten.
Yeah. And it happened.
Performance anxiety that's mixed with, like, she loves to sing, but she's not allowed to sing.
She had never performed, so I feel like the performance anxiety I get because, like, she's like constantly she's forever singing, but she's never performed in front of people before. So
I think that was pretty. I didn't have any issues with that. I felt like that was a very good thing.
But I also felt like
drilled into her.
I feel like if it was me and I had never performed before, I know I can sing. I'm a star. Like, this is, wow, I have this innate talent. I'm fantastic. I'm better than any human could ever be. Great. We know it. But but if I had never performed and I go to this place and they're like, yeah, there's a competition, you have to perform, I was immediately being like, well, no, I'm just going to steal somebody's blood then. I'll just prick somebody, steal their blood and leave. Like, I'm not doing all of this nonsense. I'm not performing. I never perform. I feel like I just wanted Sheetal to be a badass. And I guess she was being a badass in her own way. But it wasn't the way that I wanted her to be a badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes. And that was something that we need to, I think that that's something that we all need to kind of check up with ourselves too, right? Is that sometimes, we read a story and we need to remember that as much as we relate to a character, that character isn't us. As much as we relate to an experience, that experience isn't necessarily ours. I think sometimes it is. Sometimes it is, and that's why a book resonates. That's why a character resonates.
Mhm.
But it's not always, it's not always what's up. Oh no. So Bree says she isn't getting to log back in, so we may have to finish without her. Send me a voice note with closing thoughts.
There you go.
Hopefully I'll be able to share. I don't know if I'll be able to share her voice. Or hop in the chat, I guess. Hop in the chat. Yes. So I think that we need to remember what is the story being told and whose story it is being told. So like, even though I didn't agree with all the things that Sheetal did, and even though I thought Minal was the MVP, and even though I couldn't completely relate to everything, so much of it did resonate with me. A large part of that was cultural. A large part of that was cultural for sure. Because I definitely think that there were things I would have done that Sheetal certainly didn't. But also some of that is, like Sheena said, that's perspective. That's me having gone 10 plus years since being that age. And now realizing that what I felt were big stakes at the time weren't really big stakes in the scheme of things, in the scheme of
Everything feels really big when you're that age.
Yes. And I mean, I think, to be fair, in Sheetal's case, it was her father's life hanging in the balance.
Yeah, it
which
definitely was big. Yeah.
right. But even the other things, like if she and Dave had never been
Boyfriend and
like that's not neither here nor
I
there.
remember being around that age and like having somebody I had liked and was interested in, and at that time I thought it was such a big deal. And now if you even ask me that person's name, I can't tell you. I don't even know. Like it was such an insignificant thing. But at the time, I would stay up until like 1 a.m. like crying and stuff. Like, why was I doing that? Why was I doing all that?
I mean, I could have gotten some sleep, and these eye bags would not have been,
Permanent. I understand you.
These are grocery bags. This is what you go to the grocery with, so you don't have to get
Before
plastic.
I forget, though, the reason I did not like the best friend, there were two reasons I did not like her. She was a fantastic friend, yes, but she kind of saved the day too many times, and I feel like she was being used as a plot device to just kind of tie up some loose ends. Like, they're like, how are we gonna get there? And she just figured it out, and it was like, how you always diving in at the last moment with all the information.
Honestly,
that kind of feel cheap.
That is why I liked her. She was the best friend was the me. She like a gal. She didn't get sugar over the gal, even though she get vexed. And she was always saving the day for she best friend because she's the bitch who good at crisis management.
In terms of archetypes, she was the librarian.
I don't know archetypes to tell you often if I agree or not.
Who, Minal was the librarian?
Yeah. If she didn't have the information, she knew who to get the information from or how to get
I feel
the
like
information.
Minal was like a cross between the boss and the librarian. The boss.
Yeah. But
She was like a boss bitch with a librarian foundation. She's like the head of the
was
library.
a boss librarian.
Yeah. What last? I know you say you're waiting on your friend to come back, but I don't think that Bree will be back. I think that Bree is not. She's not able to connect. She did send me her. She sent me her closing thoughts. And we'll see what's up.
I also really was hoping for Minal to GT with her girl, and I was really upset that it felt so queerbaity. I was like, oh my god, she like her girl. And then at the end, like nothing came of it, and nobody even said anything about it. It was just like, okay, well, the end.
Well.
I was so upset. I was like, this queerbaity bullshit. I can't believe that I was ready for something. I was ready to see some queerness in an Indian book, and they just didn't give it to me. So I was
ready. I was ready for Minal to run down the skates and leave Sheetal there. She owns series.
I was like, at first when I read the book, I'm like, and I saw how it ended. I said, okay, is this gonna continue as a series? Is it going to, is it like, okay, is it left open ended so that that romance can take place instead of over a single book, over a series of books, etc. And I would have been fine with that. But I read today in the comments because I wanted to pull out some of the comments in particular. I read today she responded to one of the comments on Goodreads and said, no, it's a standalone. So I'm going to unfortunately have to go with Julie on this one because that one kind of, I was like, okay, you don't have to resolve a romance of a secondary character in the first book if it's going to be a series. You know what I mean?
They
It
lead
doesn't
me on and let me down. I was really sad. I take off 2 whole points from my review for that. I was like, no, I was so upset.
I when I noticed you were doing it, I kind of wanted to have like my own thoughts coming into this. I have your video saved to watch later, so I didn't look at your video. That's saved though. What rating did you give this?
I gave it a 7 out of 10, but then I gave it a 7.5 because while I was talking about it, I was like, it's just so nostalgic and the Bollywood vibes. So I just gave it that 0.5. I bumped it up a little bit.
Okay.
Really gets a high rank simply for the cultural resonance.
Yeah.
It has so much cultural resonance.
Like the
And
writing isn't superb in any way, and the dialogue for me it fell short. Like I don't think it's like perfect and it's not like amazing and brilliant, but getting to immerse yourself in a world that you have been familiar with since you're a child is like the
Yes.
biggest selling point for me. Like it really tugged at my heartstrings quite literally. Like I was like, this is amazing. I wish I had this when I was younger.
Mhm.
I read this for my younger self. This is really like the reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually think that's a really good way to describe it. I think that as an adult, it's not the best book ever, but I did
Yeah.
love it. And when I sit down and I try to figure out why I loved it, because I wasn't so into Sheetal as a main character, I was disappointed that Minal didn't get Shigal.
Yeah.
There were things that were disappointing, but
You read it to heal your inner child. You really did.
yeah, I read it because this is something I needed as a kid. You know, I
Yeah.
don't think I was ever Sheetal, but
Yeah.
I wish.
I think I said this I think
Yeah, I
I
was
said this.
definitely Minal.
Yeah, you're definitely Mana.
Minal.
I think I said in my review that if I had a book like this when I was around this age, like if I was 17 years old reading this book, I think I would have felt so inspired, funnily enough, because they're stars and they inspire people. I would have felt like, oh my God, if there can be a book like this, that means I can write books like this. And I think I would have started my writing journey a lot sooner than I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about Rebecca Roanhorse's books. So I can understand that.
Yeah. And that's a whole other conversation too. I think we should definitely put some of her latest books, I think, on the list if they're not there already. Because I know that writing about using Navajo mythology has been its own kind of controversy as well.
Yeah.
Especially given I think that she's very close, I think, to members of the Navajo tribe, but she's not actually.
So yeah, she's not actually Navajo, but I think her longtime partner is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember that there was so much division around the first what was it, Sixth World?
The Six World Series, yeah.
Yeah, the Sixth World Series.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff around that. But that was a conversation for another time. For now, it is 20 to the hour, so we are going to start with our closing thoughts. I'm gonna read Bree's closing thoughts first, since she got kicked off. I don't know what's up there because I think Julie had a similar issue with devices not.
Yeah, if I fiddle with my camera, it will kick me. So I'm not going to.
Okay. So Bree's closing thoughts. Easy breezy YA read that did not leave me heartbroken, yay for once, but definitely left me with a fun adventure and a happy ending. I enjoyed it. and the unique take it gave us for a fantasy, would absolutely recommend. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about we do let's do Talia, Shay, then me, and then Julie can close us off with their thoughts since they're the ones who inspired us to do this book.
This is technically Julie's pick and not mine.
It's
So,
fair. That's fair.
yeah.
I have another pick though.
Well, you'll go message us that in WhatsApp and we'll go add it to this. Right. So Talia, you go.
I felt that this book wrote an authentic character in Sheetal. Right? I liked that it was lighthearted and that the stakes were appropriate for a protagonist of that age. Right? I liked that the world building was well integrated. It wasn't as overt as some people would have liked to have it. And I specifically liked that. I thought that was very, brave of the author to have done that. And that I think that she did a really good job in laying out the setting. And I want to see this as a movie. I want a high budget movie out of this. Because it's purely for I don't give a damn about the plot, okay? I want it for the aesthetic. I want to see all those I want to see all the Desi actors and actresses do this, right? Portray this movie, right? I think Shah Rukh Khan will make a good dad. I want people to be rooting for him. People are heartbroken that he's lying in a hospital. And I think people will weep over that. And I think
he did it before, so he can do
right,
it again.
If he's gonna play a daddy role, be the daddy. I'm seeing him here, right? This, I mentally have started casting this, and I have to go through some of the names because I don't know some of the names, but I know who I want. I think this was a great book. It did what it was supposed to do. However, I'm gonna have to dock a point because Minal didn't get her girl in the end. Like even Sam got a wife in the end. So come on, Minal deserves a girl, okay? Of everybody that deserved to finish, was Minal. But again, I love this book. This book definitely has the potential to be a good series because there's enough family intrigue and political drama. This could be literally Game of Thrones in space, and I would be so down for it. Like YA Game of Thrones in space. Right now, I'm seeing it more as like High School Musical Bollywood style. That's how I'm seeing it. Nothing's wrong with it. I think it's great. I would enjoy seeing it even as an adult. Late 30s going into my 40s. It was great. Love it.
Okay, Shay.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think a lot of what Talia said kind of resonates with me, and I think coming into today, I think my opinion of the book was pretty low. I probably would have given it like a 5, but I think through this conversation, which I love having these conversations because I get to hear and see different perspectives, and so I think after this discussion, especially, I feel like. I would probably also similarly bring it up to more like a 7, because of that cultural resonance, right? And I think for me, because I didn't have it kind of, I was focusing more on personally what I could connect with, which I couldn't really connect myself with the main character, with Sheetal. I love the pettiness, and I love the opulence of the world of being in the up with the stars and their this beautiful court. It was just amazing, right? It was kind of fun. Something that I really wish, and we didn't really get to talk about this, I really wish we could have spent more time in the market, because that seemed like just a fantastic place. I was like, why?
Almost, smell it. You could just, hear the music and smell the smells.
Why weren't we introduced to this sooner? And why couldn't I, go and explore? I wanted more of that. And I felt like if I had some more time, and I was so happy at the end of that we got to go back and revisit it at the end of the book too, because maybe the author was also feeling that way, but I'm really sad that this is supposed to be a standalone, because to me I felt like this was a great opening to what would be a pretty awesome series. But now that I know that it's supposed to be like a standalone, I'm a little disappointed, because I feel like, oh, like what about Minal and the night market and all these things that I wanted more of. I'm really sad now that I'm not going to get that. So overall, I think I liked it. I would have liked this definitely when I was younger, because, these are, this is a culture and a theme that, I was really into when I was younger. Not that I'm not into it now. It's just, I have other things that I've been, trying to explore and learn more about. So I think today, I like it, but maybe not as much as when I was younger. So I think that's why I'm coming off probably a little more harsher. Like I didn't like it, but I did. I enjoyed it. It was, nothing too heart wrenching or heartbreaking. Would I recommend it to people? Yeah, for sure. I think I've got a few family members that I think this should definitely go on their list of need to read. So I'll send it to those people. Yeah,
I want to ask one question though.
Yeah.
The group.
Yeah.
You all think that she has enough? Like, it was as a standalone story. It's nice. It's a nice standalone story. It could have been a little bit more, tied up loose ends, but it was a nice standalone story. Do you think that she has enough of the main plot to have a series, or at the very least, a duology? Because we
I
tweeted
think so.
Kaya Johnson, and then 2 days later she said, "Oh, by the way, sequel in the works." Do you think we can incentivize her to make it like
I don't think we can do that, but I think if she wanted to, she could, because there are many avenues she can go down where she could like raise the stakes a little bit and give us a new, twist.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know if she will.
I think this is very likely one of those standalone with series potential situations where it is a standalone book and it was published as a standalone book, but the world is rich enough and the characters have enough depth that you can pluck somebody from this book. Even the same main character, right?
Yeah.
She has a journey. She has a whole new journey ahead of her now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could easily
navigating starhood,
Yeah. And so I don't think that it's a situation where a series is out of the question, but I think it's a situation of whether or not she wants to write it and whether or not somebody has bought it.
Yeah.
It's
true. And yeah, like I agree. Like I think she has enough there at minimum for a duology, if not like a trilogy. More than that, I kind of hesitate to say. It really because I'm not in the editing room. I don't know what's been left on the cutting room floor. Like, is there enough to go beyond 3? I kind of question that. But I think for me, like, even if this was going to turn into something like a Shadow and Bone type Netflix series, like I'd be kind of excited to see that. I'd be totally up for seeing that, and I've already got my ideas too for who could act in different parts.
The opulence of it all, I was getting like Joda Akbar vibes.
Yeah.
Because it was like, so royal, and the outfits and the gold everywhere, and like I could see it. I could really see it.
Whoever was doing the costuming for Sharag Dashlu in my God, this show that we've been watching on Amazon, The Expanse, whoever was doing
Her outfits are really good.
Wardrobe, I want to see what they will do with this.
With an entire cast? Oh, baby. Okay, closing thoughts. Focus. Closing thoughts. Oh my goodness. Oh, Dropbox. Shut up. I don't care. So, all right. I do have feelings about things that this book did and didn't do. Do you think, for example, that what happened to the dad counts as fridging, right? The dad was harmed for the purpose of this character going on this journey, which is kind of the definition, right? Even though that he didn't die in the end, right? Like that's not, I don't think, a requirement. Does that count, right? given the context, right? A loved one getting hurt. I do feel like there was some queer-baiting with Manal because I kept wanting more of that and wanting to see that happen, and it didn't. But at the same time, I think that it did not affect me as much as I guess it may have affected other people, simply because I knew it. Like it was never gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like that was my thing, is that, oh, I like that it's here. I like that we get some of it, but I don't expect this to go anywhere because of the context of this book, the rest of it, and also because it wasn't Manal's story. Yeah. And that is something else that I have to keep reminding myself too, especially when I try to take an editorial perspective on work that I'm looking at or work that I'm reading, is that it's kind of like when we were reading Citadel of Weeping Quills. There was so much that folks wanted, and there were so many questions people wanted answered, but that's not what the story was about.
Yeah, you can't have it all.
Yeah, that's not what the story was about. And when you look at what that story was supposed to be about, and what story that was supposed to tell, it told that story, and it told that story well. Yeah. And so I think that keeping those things in mind, keeping who Sheetal is in mind, keeping who the stars are, keeping the core of the dramatic Indian family Bollywood style business, right? All these secrets, only lies. I think that this book was really well done. It was, and I think that it was even well written. And even with all of those other things in mind, I might rate this quite high. I think I'd rate it over a 7, maybe not a 9 or 10, maybe like a 7.5 or an 8. Simply because it had that cultural resonance. It definitely uses things that we get out of the same kind of TV, like Bollywood TV, all the stuff that I see on CTV or whatever Indian channel is on at my aunt's when I go to her place. It uses all of those same kind of tropes. It certainly gives it a bit of a Western spin, but the heart of it is still what we really truly see in so many Indian families, and that so many people are grown to believe. And when I say Indian, I do mean the diaspora. I do mean those who have migrated and who are immigrants or children of immigrants, because I can't speak, I think, personally can't speak for what life is like on that continent, And yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought that it was a really great read. I really wish I had more of this kind of book to read when I was a kid. And I'm glad that even though I certainly have the distance from that time of my life, in my life, the distance to know better now, and to be annoyed at some of these decisions, I am glad that I read it. And I think that my teenage self is grateful to have this in existence now. Julie, take it away, and then we'll do our just wrap up and goodbyes.
Okay. So yeah, as I said before, I rated this a 7.5 out of 10. I really appreciated this book. I really appreciated it. I felt thankful that it was written. It's not like my favorite book ever in the world, but I am very thankful. It is authentically Desi. It really comes across like that. It's so authentically Indian, and it really, like, it shows, it shows to people who are Indian and who can identify with it. And also, if you're not in this culture and you want to know what it's like, this is what it's like. This is really what it's like. It felt so authentic, and I do appreciate that. Also, I don't know if anybody mentioned this before, but the other contestant who had the puppets, the Rajasthan puppets, that was such a nice little, addition to, yeah, it's India, but we're not only known for singing and dancing and music. We also have all these other types of art forms, and I really appreciated that as well. That was so nice. I wanted more puppetry. I wanted more of that. And I feel like if she wanted to, the author, she has that avenue. She could maybe explore all the different art forms in that way and write, her different books and stuff, exploring like the magic of using the puppetry or the poetry writing or, the dancing or the singing or whatever, the music. It feels really full, like the world feels really full, and I really appreciated it. So I think, yeah, that's all I really have to say. I'm glad I read it. it was an ode to my youth and my childhood, and I enjoyed it. It's a nice light read, and yeah, I definitely reached out to a couple friends. Like one of my Kea, I don't know if and if Talia might know Peggy. Peggy is my bestie from high school. We became best friends through Indian music because she's a dancer and I'm a singer. And that's how we bonded on the first day of school. We made friends like that. And as soon as I was reading this book, like I didn't even get far, and I messaged her. I was like, Peggy, you need to read this book. It's literally a Bollywood movie in a book form. And I was like gushing about it because it's that kind of book. It really does have an impact if you have this background. So I appreciated that.
Definitely.
I think that's all I have to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
I liked it.
I appreciate your
Thanks for having me as a guest.
I'm glad that you joined us. You should join us often.
Maybe I will.
Good. So, with that in mind, keep an ear out for our next book, which is The Star-Crossed Sisters of Tuscany. Brittany Bree picked that book. It is a contemporary novel by Laurie Nelson Spielman. We were originally set to do that book on the 19th of September, but it looks, because I think we pushed stuff back when everyone was sick last week, we'll be doing that on the 26th of September instead, is what it looks like to me. I foresee that there may be some calendar adjustments in the future because we have like birthday readings and book release days that we're trying to work around to do some of our reading. But I think for now we'll stick to the 26th where we do the Star-Crossed Sisters of Tuscany. And that's it, Oya. I hope you all had fun listening to us talk about Gal running on Piggy and why she should have been like focusing on like performance and not tracking man. And all this about like the lies and secrets of Indian families. And
The most basic of shit.
yes, and the pettiness. Honestly, it was so real. It was. I really thought it was authentic.
The soap opera drama of Indian people.
Yeah, it was a good book. It's a good book for us. I think if you resonate with that, like you said, Julie,
Yeah.
it's a good book. All right. Well, thank you, Olia. I'm ending the broadcast. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Bye.